So what I ask is that if you are coming in, please make sure you're muted. We're going to save the chat until the end, so I did turn that off. So questions at the end, if you have them, just because I can't keep up with them during the webinar. So thanks again, guys, for coming. This is, like I said, one of our last workshops that we're offering for free. We will have I will say we will have mini trainings, very short trainings, like less than 5-minute trainings in the Facebook group. We'll bring in some of our partners and our colleagues and our clients to also do some of these trainings over the next few months. So you guys will have the opportunity to join the group if you're not already in it, because I know some of you guys are from my email list and my other groups. But that group is Influence Builder if you want to jump ahead and go in and grab it. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about what it is to scale to 7 figures. So I'm your host, Danielle Fitzpatrick Clark. If we are not connected on Facebook or LinkedIn, let's go ahead and connect. I cannot make any guarantees on Facebook. I know that I keep hitting that 5,000 mark and going below it. If we can, we will go ahead and accept requests, but your best chance is to get me on LinkedIn. And you can do that by searching for my name, Danielle Fitzpatrick Clark. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to talk about scaling to 7 figures in your business. I know everyone's like, oh, the 7-figure scale. Oh, it's so great. And then you go through the process and you learn some things. So what I need from you guys is just for the next 60 minutes. I'm going to try to move through this in 60 minutes. Like I said, it's the middle of the day. I know we all got lots to do. I really appreciate you spending this time with me. So undivided attention for the next 60 minutes. Guys, take some notes. You're going to get some good ahas. And again, we're going to open up Q&A at the end. If we have time, I may only be able to open it for a couple minutes. So there is a saying, growth is painful, change is painful, but nothing as painful as staying stuck where you do not belong. So if you're feeling stuck, I guarantee in staying there, that is much more painful than taking the steps to grow. And that is very true in business, especially if you are in a growth mindset. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So what I know how to do. So what I know how to do is I've built 7-figure businesses from the ground up. So a lot of people don't know this. They see me as the CEO of Influence Builder. I help a lot of entrepreneurs, but behind the scenes, I do a lot of building with businesses that are 7 figures, multiple 7 figures, and some of them come in and they're at multiple 6 figures. So we do a lot of work with these types of businesses. We're specific to digital marketing. That's our genius. So 13 years. We just turned the corner in December into 13 years. One of the areas of genius is growth, massive growth strategy. So we know growth, we know lead generation, we know platform building. We know how to do that in a very influential way that's also organic and authentic. So what that means is I like to work with thought leaders in the industries that are standing out in their niche in some way or on their way to stand out. We've made our clients millions of dollars. I step in a lot. Me and my company step in a lot as fractional CMOs. So what that means is that we jump in as chief marketing officers for lots of these companies that are in their growth phase and they're stuck in their growth phase. So digital disruption is our game. It says GAM, but there should be an E at that. I think I covered it up with one of the logos below. So recently we have partnered up with Wise Her and we've been featured and been working with Staples Connect and Dwen, which is Dell's women's entrepreneur group, or I'm sorry, entrepreneur network. So we've been doing a lot of things with even bigger businesses and getting a lot of notice from these types of people with their digital marketing and disruptive tactics. So all online marketing, I will say mine is very specific to online marketing. So a lot of people come to me, and maybe that's why you guys are here. You've got stuff to do. Is this you? Are you busy? Everything. We got to do everything. We're running around. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. I can't talk right now. I got to do this. So a lot of my people are these people. They're busy. And for some reason, I'm one of the lucky ones that they'll actually stop and talk to. But I know that's very rare. So most of them are busy in the doing phase, which I like to equal that to the growth phase. So And if you're doing this and it's a continuous thing, you may not be too far from the crash and burn. A lot of people burn out. They get really tired. They go, go, go. And then they hit a plateau. And that's when it's very easy to crash and burn. So um, you're most likely in growth if you're in these types of phases. Just because if you're tired but you're not crashing and burning, doesn't mean that you're not in growth phase. Most businesses are in growth. So what's a good example? Amazon's in growth, right? Everyone would be thinking they're in scale. No, these guys are in constant growth. They're growing. They they are not making a lot in their bottom line, but they are continuously building and building and building. So that's a great example of what it looks like to be in growth phase, which is why most businesses are in growth phase. So what does it mean? Because most people think of it as scaling, but it's not. There's a difference. So most business owners are in that constant growth phase and not a scale phase. And a lot of even bigger businesses, they'll have moments of scale and then mostly growth. So being in growth phase is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. So what does it actually mean? Because it does get over the word scale gets overused so much. It's like a hot word right now. But growth means adding resources at the same rate that you're adding revenue. So for example, a company that gains a customer hires more people to service them and adds revenue at the same rate as it's adding more costs. So is it an equal rate? No, not always. We're just saying that they're growing. They're making more money, but they're bringing in more resources to support the growth. So scale is about adding revenue at a rapid rate while adding resources at an incremental rate. So scaling is when you're making lots of money, but you're not having to add in resources. And resources can be systems, resources can be team members, resources can be contractors, and there's a whole bunch of things that resources can be. So scaling is when you're continuously growing without having to add anything in. So you guys can see why most people are in growth phase. And like I said, it's not a bad thing because in order to scale, you first have to grow. So this is what I like to tell people. I'm like, you're in the perfect place. There's nothing wrong with being in a growth phase. In fact, if we're growing and we're expanding, then that's a wonderful place that we can work with. We can work with that. So here's just another quick example. Growth versus scale. Growth, it's resources in and money in. So it may even seem like there's more resources that are needing to come in. Doesn't necessarily mean that resources equal the same amount of money. It doesn't. It just means that we're spending a lot of time bringing in resources. Scaling means we've got more money coming in than we need resources. So everyone talks about scaling, right? They talk about it. Yet the growth phase is, again, where many of us are. Full transparency, we're in growth phase. We are building. We're called influence builder after all, but we're having to bring in more and more team members because we're growing so fast and we're bringing in so many clients. So in all transparency, we are in a growth phase right now. We were in a scaling phase. Now we're in a growth phase because we're doing more. We're doing more things. We are putting out more products. We've got more demand. So like I said, growth phase is not a bad thing. So this is where it gets really exciting for people. This is where possibilities happen. You're never done growing either. So I want to say, even if you hit the scale phase, like I said, I'm a good example, there will be a time to grow again as you add in more products, as you service your clients, as you understand that they need more from you, you're going to step into a growth phase again. So the ticket is to grow with ease. So a lot of people, when they mean scale, they actually are asking for, can I grow with ease? Can it not feel so frustrating to grow? So that's something that I see happen a lot, is that people are wanting to grow rather than scale, but they think it needs to be scale. So the ticket is to grow with ease. So rather than growing like this, where it's a little stressful, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to take this on. I don't think this is going to be a good thing. The reward is actually in the growth. So if you guys are there, if you're feeling it, if you're feeling the pain of growing, then I want you guys just to take a minute and think about some of the growth mindset examples for entrepreneurs. These are pretty common. These are pretty common ones. We talk about them a lot, but there's a lot of rewarding growth. So one of them is learning to see challenges as opportunities. So if you're in growth phase and you're seeing everything as problems, and I just want to give you guys some comfort in that we can shift that into challenges, and these challenges are opportunities. Like we need to do certain things in order to get to where we want to go, which is the scaling and which is the 7 figures, right? We want to know how to get to 7 figures. We have to go through this part. Focus on learning. So focus on the learning piece of it and not the approval piece. So we're not looking for people's approval. We're not asking for permission. We are simply growing and learning, much like toddlers. Like entrepreneurship is much like when we were a toddler. We have to crawl, then we have to walk or kind of walk, and then we run, and then we jog, and then we run, right? So it's the same idea with entrepreneurship. We can't go from crawl phase to run phase immediately. So what else do we want to do? What else do we want to do? We want to learn to love the process. I say this a lot. I say this a lot because I've needed to learn it. The process is the actual learning phase. It's the things that you're doing to get to the outcomes. Now, a lot of people look at it multiple ways. It really does mean the same thing. Like enjoy the journey, not the destination. That's another one, right? We just use process because that's just what we teach here. The process is the things that we have to do to get to where we want to go. So that's a great growth hack mindset. Also, this is one of my favorite ones is to be open to feedback. Be open to feedback of your peers and your clients and learn to give the feedback lovingly too. Now, I say be open to feedback to your peers and your clients. So here's something that my amazing consultant taught me. And she said, listen, you take feedback from people who are where you are and your clients, because your clients are the ones that you're serving. So either the feedback comes from your peers, they're at the same place or they're above you. You take that feedback just from them with their experience, and then you take it from your clients so you can improve. So it's really about that type of feedback. You don't have to take feedback from everyone. The other great thing about the online space is that it's filled with trolls. So we need to take their feedback? No, we don't. We don't need to focus on their approval. But feedback is really good. And we also need to learn to give it in appropriate places. So another a growth mindset. So here's a big one. We also need to learn to accept failure, right? So as business owners, there's times when things have failed. We've had failures. We've had launches that didn't end up going well, didn't end up selling anything. Our clients have launches that they put all this time and money and effort in and they barely broke even, or they didn't break it. And some of them lose money. A lot of them lose money. So here's the thing is that a lot of people, if they fall flat on their face, they just keep laying there. I put this on repeat so you guys know that we're just going to keep doing it again. But learn to accept failure and use it. Use it to help others who are going through their fail cycle too. Like use it for yourself later on too. This is the other thing. When we fail, we learn. We get back up. We know what didn't work as long as we're willing to look at it. We know what didn't work and we know where our gaps are and where we need to improve. So this is a big one. This is a great big hack for you guys when it comes to your growth mindset. So the positives of the growth. Always like to come into the positives. We're so busy to get to that scale phase. Often we don't see the positives in growth. Like it gives you a story. That's the best part of growth, from my opinion, is that, man, every time I grow or fall flat on my face, I get the best content ideas ever. Like it makes me so much more interesting than I would have been if I didn't go through this. I mean, how boring is it? Like, yeah, I woke up one morning and I decided that I was going to be an entrepreneur. And then, I did a couple things and poof, I'm a millionaire. No, that's not interesting. I don't want to read about that. I don't know anybody else that wants to read. I don't even want to live through it. That would just be so boring. What am I going to do next? So it gives you a story. It makes you interesting to go through growth. The other thing is that because most of us are in a growth phase and most of us fail, I don't think I've ever heard anyone having a 100% track record of success. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. I'm open to being wrong if there's somebody that can prove it, but the thing is that they can't prove it. So if you're not failing, if you're not in growth phase, then how are you relatable? How are you relatable? And if you're not relatable online, then you have a problem. So with the positive of the growth and the failures is that you become relatable to others. You also increase your scope of the process. You develop that Hawkeye. So when we go through growth phase, when we have failures, then we actually have more experiences. So we increase our scope. We take a step back while we're in the process. So we can learn from it and we can keep moving forward and either next time that same happening comes around, we can move through it or we fail less. So that's the other thing is that it'll increase the scope of that process. You learn what not to do and what to do instead. That's one of my favorite things about this growth phase is that, okay, I know I can't do that to get here, but I'm going to try this instead. It's the experiment, it's the testing and the tweaking. There's a lot of positives in that. And sometimes we don't know what it's going to be unless we try it. And then we don't know what we definitely don't want to do unless we experience what we don't want. So it also helps you understand the dynamics of business. There's a lot of moving pieces in business. And there is no such thing. This is my perspective. Yes, it could be stated as an opinion. I have never met a business at the 7 figures that is a cookie cutter business. I have never met one. I have never met a business owner that did things exactly as their coach taught them to. I have never met a larger business that has done the same thing that so-and-so did and that's how they did it. I have not met one yet. Like I said, doesn't mean they're not out there. It's not common. It's very rare. So if we understand that we're not cookie cutter, that the way to get to 7 figures is not the same way that someone else did it, we have to understand growth. We have to be there in the growth because we're not going to learn. We're not going to find certain things work for us that didn't work for other people. We're not going to have the experiences so that we can move forward. And the other thing that I really like about growth is that it helps us develop thought leadership. So again, it goes back to the interesting piece. I'm much more interesting every time I fail. I will say that I'm much more interesting. It also gives me an opportunity to process through the failure because there's a lot of emotions that come up. At least for me, processing through them and coming out the other side gives me an opportunity to see it at a bird's eye view and to become a thought leader about this. I'm like, there's a lot of wonderful things that happen during those. Who's a good example? Mel Robbins I love Mel Robbins. She's amazing. And I was listening to one of her episodes on Instagram and she was saying that, people, if you're going to go into entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to fail and you don't have to expect it, but you have to be willing. And she goes on about her story that I don't think a lot of people know, but she failed. She lost everything. She lost everything on her entrepreneurial journey at the beginning phases of one of them. And now look at her. Now she's come out amazing. She has her own show. She is a well-paid speaker. She's well known throughout the world, the globe. And she's deep. She's interesting. She's a thought leader. I share her posts all the time because they resonate. So she is profound. So just think of that if you're going through your growth cycle and if you're finding that things aren't working, just know you're not alone in it and know that there's going to be an opportunity if you choose. There's always an opportunity for you guys to use that later on to become a thought leader. Or it's just think of it as part of your development. So here's the 3 big shifts. So we're going to talk about scaling into 7 figures. Now, we went into some of them, but the 3 big shifts you need to make to be on the path to scaling and scaling big is that You need to enjoy and learn from the growth. You also need to discover your weaknesses and fill the gaps, or at least let them go. Let go of your weaknesses. I'm not saying that um, you have to double, triple down on what you're not good at, because some people do. I think there's a Gary Vee saying this is that, stop doubling down on what you're not good at and triple down on what you are. Um, you can let go of certain things, and there's other ways to look at that too. So discover your weaknesses and fill the gaps. So the quicker you guys can do that, the quicker you're going to scale or get to the scale phase. You also need to automate and systematize. I won't go into that too much, but I'm going to tell you guys you need to automate and systematize. When you don't, and I've heard this so many times, you cannot hustle to 7 figures. You cannot hustle your way to 7 figures. You can hustle your way to 6 figures. You can even hustle your way to 200K. I've even seen people do it to 500K. But from 500K to 1 million per year, you cannot hustle through that. So, and you also need to avoid the things that don't scale, right? What are those activities that, and we're doing them, all of us are doing them every single day. What are the things that you're doing that are not helping you scale? I'm going to put something in here real quick, just so you guys are like, oh, scratch all that. Unless, there's one caveat right here, unless they are by design. If you're doing things that aren't helping you scale, they need to be by design. So I'll talk more about that. Yeah, you're going to have to wait for it. You guys are going to have to wait for that one. So here's the first thing you need to get excited during your growth phase. Like there is a reason for the rah for growth. This is why I'm talking about it. And you're like, we got it, Danielle. I think you banged it in our head pretty good. I'm going to do just a little more. It's the first shift to scaling. It's the first thing. It's the first thing that you need to do. Right? It's also, you need to accept that growth is the natural progression into scaling. It's the natural progression. You have to grow in order to scale every single time. You don't go right into scale. A lot of people try to skip steps. You have to go through trial and error so that you can scale. You need to know what doesn't work so you know what works. You can't get there from there. I don't know if you guys are Abraham Hicks fans. I love her. I get a lot of my mindset work from her, believe it or not. And she's a very intuitive channel person. Yes, a little on the woo side. I like both, but she says this, you can't get there from there, meaning that we can't get here. We'll just say that we're maybe at the beginning of growth to here, which is scale. It's like hot. We can't get there. There's no line through that. So we can't get there from there, but we can get there from here to here to here. So I like to say this. I wouldn't necessarily call me a Gary Vee fan. He can be a little abrasive. I like that about him, but he has some really good quotes. So just think of it this way. You're not lost. You're just early in the process. You're not lost. You're just early in the process. Yeah, I think I hit home the growth phase. So here again, learn fast from your growth. You got to learn fast. And the way to do that is that you got to track your numbers. Always have recaps. So this is something that I know a lot of entrepreneurs aren't doing. They're not recapping. They're not recapping after a launch. They're not even recapping after how a Facebook Live went, for example. How did that Facebook Live go? Did I feel like I nailed that message? Was my call to action strong enough? I mean, we recap as a team. So, hey Danielle, that looked really good. Or hey Danielle, the numbers weren't that great compared to what we were expecting. So always have a recap. You don't have to have it every single time, especially if you're launching a lot or you're doing a lot of things on social, but you want to have one weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. So recaps. It's the same thing as players and coaches on football. They recap and they watch how the game went before and what they need to learn. Same idea in entrepreneurship. So what's the other thing? If you're in the hiring process, hire fast, or no, not hire fast, hire slow, fire fast. Meaning it's the same idea, test, tweak, move faster. So You want to be conscious of who you're hiring and who you're bringing in and why you're bringing them in, and then also setting it up so that if they need to go, you can let them go. So one of the things that we do in our company is that we do 30-day trials. We don't give an offer and bring people on for any length of time. We do trials, and they're usually anywhere between a month and 3 months, and then we'll try things. So, but we also give ourselves the opportunity to let people go if we need to. So, the other thing, energy matters. How you feel in your business says a lot. How you're feeling on a day-to-day business, and this is another thing. This is why we say you can't hustle your way to seven figures. Your energy matters. How you feel, how you're feeling that day, how you're feeling during a week, during a month. It has an effect on your business. So you need to give yourself some time to tap in. If you guys need somebody to tap in to how you're feeling, how your body's feeling, I've got a gal for you. You guys are more than welcome to message me on LinkedIn or Facebook if you would like the opportunity to talk to her. But that's one of the things that she does, is that she helps business owners tap into their body so that they can do this, so that they can grow and scale. So energy matters. And you need to find improvements and efficiencies and stick with them. That's the other thing, is that sometimes people find apps like, oh, this is great, and then they'll move on to another app or another system or process, and they're like, well, I want to do this instead. So you need to be decisive. You need to take your improvements and your efficiencies, and you need to work with them. Unless they're not working. If they don't work for you or they're not working fast enough, then you can go out, but make sure that you're giving yourself the opportunity. So your weaknesses, oh gosh, we all have some. We all have blind spots, you know. I've got a couple of really good blind spots. One of them is directions. I cannot give directions. Like, I will get us lost, and it doesn't even make sense. We could be going to the next street over, and I would get us lost. So that's a fun one. I also don't know my left from my right unless I put up my fingers and do the L's. Never been able to learn that one. Which just goes back to my sense of direction, right? You have to, and this is just, yes, it's funny, but in business, there's also some other blind spots. So you have to identify the weak points in your business. So as a business, what are the weak points? And that doesn't mean you specifically, that means the business. What are the weak points? You also have to identify your own weaknesses. Like, what are you not great at? What is it that doesn't excite you sometimes, is what you just aren't strong in. So decipher if they are weaknesses or are they opportunities. That's the other thing. It's like, okay, is this a weakness or is this an opportunity? And by that, I mean, weaknesses we can let go of if they're not necessary in our business. So individual weaknesses, and like I said, this is the Gary V quote. Why do people double down on their weaknesses instead of tripling down on what they're strong at? So we have to decipher, is it just a business weakness or a personal weakness, or is it an opportunity for growth? So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it. Most of the time, weaknesses are opportunities. If they're opportunities, is it something that you want to grow in? So you can also decide that. Is it something that you want to grow in? Or is it something that you can bring somebody who's strong in that area to fill the gap? So that's something for you to decide. And I'm gonna just say this. If we're talking about the hiring process, which is a big part, you do need a team to scale to seven figures, guys. I've heard people say, you don't need a team, you need a team. You cannot hustle by yourself to seven figures. How big of a team? It just depends. I've seen a lot of people build a team that has 3 to 5 amazing contractors. Like, they're not even full-time employees, they're contractors, and they build to seven figures. To scale, you're going to have things in place. Some people have a lot of team members. We have 10 team members. Some of them are contractors, some of them are team, they're employees. So, but we do a lot of work. We do a lot of implementation. We need a lot of different things for our clients. So I want to say this, experts hire experts. They do. If there's a gap, and they've identified it as an opportunity rather than a weakness, and they need to bring in somebody that knows more. So that's a big part of scaling to seven figures, is that you have to identify a weakness. You have to decide if that's an opportunity, and then if it's an opportunity, you need to find someone or a team that can take care of that gap for you. So we're not meant to be an expert in all things. I'm certainly not going to say I'm an expert in all things. I am not. This is why I bring in team members. This is why I also bring in team members to tell me, what are we missing? What do we need to know in the digital space that we haven't yet capitalized on? I have team members that do that. I do a lot of it myself too, but I can't cover everything. Um, just going to say it. There's always someone smarter than you. There is. Everyone's like, if you walk into a room and you're the smartest person there, then you need to find a different room. I disagree. I think there's always somebody smarter in any given room. And hear me out on this one. Hear me out on this one. I was telling my daughter this. She was having a moment where she didn't feel smart. She's extremely smart. And so I told her this. I said, listen, there's a lot of different ways to be smart. and being smart depends on the experiences that you have in a lot of cases. Some people are, yes, they naturally get things quicker and they're brilliant. But that doesn't make them smart in certain areas that you could be smart in. So the whole, if you're the smartest person in a room, I'm like, you're never the smartest person in any given room unless you're standing in that room by yourself. Then of course you're the smartest person. So with that being said, you're not always going to know everything. And it's a lot to expect of yourself too, to know everything. Scaling requires people and people who are enrolled in your vision. That's the other thing with hiring, guys. And I'm going into the hiring piece and the filling in the gaps piece because scaling requires it, but you also have to scale with people who are enrolled in your vision. Now, I come into a lot of these companies and they have people that are not enrolled into the mission or the vision of the CEO. They're not, they're there for a paycheck. And these guys do not help scale. In fact, they end up being weight, they end up being an anchor and making the process slower until either they get enrolled because they want to and they choose to and they have a moment, or they get cut loose. So scaling does require that people be your team, and you need to be too, enrolled in the vision and the mission, which also means that you need to have a vision and a mission for your company. What is it? What is it? And is it something that's more than just the money? So a lot of people say you can build a business just for the money. I'm like, there's got to be something that drives you. Doesn't necessarily have to be the why that makes you cry, but what is it that is a driver for you? If it's money, why? There's always something more to it than money, is what I'm saying. If you are there to see how much money you can make, why do you want to make that money? What is it about making money that drives you? And some people will say, well, I just want to see how much I can make. Oh, that's great. That's growth to me. That's a growth mindset. That's self-improvement. So that's deeper, but it does need to go a little bit deeper. And also, just FYI, enrollment doesn't happen in a pressure cooker. So you cannot force people to be enrolled in your vision. You cannot force them to. They either they come to it on their own, they're already there, or they're just not and they pass by. But you cannot pressure them to be enrolled in your vision and your mission. It tends to go sideways. So what are we on now? We're on automation and systems. So to scale, this is fun. Yay. There are things you need to automate and create systems for. I hear a lot of people groan like, oh, we're going to talk systems again, Danielle. I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk systems. Your clients, yeah, need to automate some of these and create systems for your clients. You need to create systems for your team. You need to create systems for yourself. Automation and systems. That's what you need in your business. So let's talk about some systems. So you're going to need these things. So internal systems, SOPs, those are standard operating procedures, onboarding and offboarding. Those are just a couple of examples. What does that look like? as you're scaling to seven figures, you need to be able to understand what's working. If you're onboarding new team members, you need to be able to show them, here's what we do and here's how we do it, and this is why we know it works. So those are some internal systems. Some external systems are front end and back end systems. So front end is like a website. The back end of a website is your customer relationship marketing tool, like Kajabi is a big one, Kartra, ClickFunnels. It's not really much of a back end. It's more of a front end too, because a lot of people are using ClickFunnels for their front end websites now. But anything that's behind the scenes, anything where we're segmenting and doing those things, those are behind the scenes. So another external system is a system you've put in place for wherever your clients enter your business, right? So another external system, sometimes your online calendar, that's an external system. It's a system. You systematize your scheduling, and your clients have a direct link to it. You guys are going to see this at the end. I'm going to give you a link to my calendar. So those are some examples of internal and external systems. You do need these to scale to seven figures. Automations. I do love automation. I love bringing the human piece into automation. That's what I really love. So this is where systems can turn on and run by themselves. Yay, that's automation. So I can turn on something and it just runs by itself. So somebody jumps into my email, then my system, which is Kartra, will run them through based on logic, based on what they clicked on, based on their actions within my systems. So automation can only get there through strategic hustle. This is what we're talking about. Do you guys remember this one? Where is it? It's a little guy that was doing a loop-de-loop. No, not that guy. This guy. Avoid the things that don't scale unless they are by design. Here is what I mean. I'm going to go back. Yep. We're almost there. Yeah. Strategic hustle. So even if it's not scaling you, if it's on purpose, if it's purposeful, strategic hustle, then yes, you need it, because you can only know what you need to automate if you know what you can't continue doing. This is the whole thing with, you cannot hustle to seven figures. You can hustle in your growth phase, you can hustle to make six figures, multiple six figures, but you need to take that knowledge so that you can automate it. That's the one thing. That's when you can. And we call that strategic hustle. So qualifies as things that don't scale, but they need to know. You need to know them in order to find solutions. You have to be able to know what isn't working or what you can't scale so that you can automate it. And then another part of automation, and I like this part, and this is necessary for seven figures, is that automation will keep you from chasing down your clients, chasing them. Why do you not want to chase them? We also need to position, right? When we're building our business and growing our business, it's important to not chase. And the sooner you get that, the faster you're going to grow and the sooner you're going to get to scale. So one of the big things I'm telling everybody with digital marketing, like, hey, people need to raise their hand. They need to raise their hand to participate. They need to say, yes, I'm interested, right? You guys came on here, you were asked, you were given the link, you raised your hand. Yeah, I'm interested. I'd like to hear. So that's the other thing. You don't need to chase. You don't need to chase people down. Positioning takes you a long ways, and you need the automation. You don't need it at the beginning, but as you're scaling to seven figures, it keeps you from chasing. It helps you position. No, nobody talks about it that way, but automation actually helps you position. So that's it, guys. That's a summary. I wanted to give you guys some really good information, some perception shifts of what growth versus scale means. So summary is, use your growth phase to your advantage and learn from your strategic hustle, right? Yeah, I like that. I like strategic hustle. I like that a lot. That's another way of saying run experiments. See what works and doesn't work. So I'm all for it. You also need to fill in the gaps of your weaknesses. So fill them in if they're opportunities, let them go if they're not. If it's a weakness and there's nothing that it's not required in your business or to help you grow, you can let it go. You can let that stuff go. Systematize first. So I do want to say that systematize first, then add the automation. And also add automation second, not just based on the systems, but based on your strategic hustle. Oh, and I threw this in. I know I said 3. I was going to there's a bonus one, guys, for you. This is the big thing that's happening in digital marketing. This is helping people scale to 7 figures much faster than even a couple years ago. So people are getting to scale phase quicker than before in the online space because they're building a strong community of those they can serve and serve on different parts of their journey. So if you guys have been following me and you've seen some of my other masterclasses and webinars, you know that I talk about ecosystems and how our clients fall within ecosystems, and it's our job and opportunity to create more ecosystems for them to come into as they grow with us. So this is becoming more and more and more essential. If I can hit this home, if I can hit anything home for you guys today, this is what I want to hit home, is that you have to start building a stronger foundation. You have to build a strong community, especially for you guys in here that are at the expert level. This is how you sustain being a thought leader. This is how you grow into being a thought leader. You have a community that you serve, and you can serve on multiple parts of their journey. So what does that look like? That looks like not just selling your services by the hour, right? So not just doing that because that's a one-off, but instead looking at it as a different way. Like, my ideal clients, they could really get a nice little boost with an hour call, but I really should have something else for them that also improves their commitment. So their commitment to this part of their journey. So a group program. So they get through one phase or one ecosystem, they move on to the next. After they go through that group or that one, it could even be a one-on-one package. What do you have for them next that will help them grow and help them expand, that you absolutely can serve them best at? And how do we do that? How do we build strong communities? There's lots of ways to do that. I like to tell people, I'm like, think of it as a community is where I can continue to nurture. So where can I place them so I can continue to nurture them? Specific to the online space, there's a couple that I really like. One, email marketing is great. We can nurture people in email marketing, right? What's another one? So Mighty Networks is another one. It's a membership, and it's a kind of like a forum all in one. So that's another good one that people are utilizing. And then other ones are like our social media groups. So Facebook groups. There's a ton of Facebook groups, right? I personally love Facebook groups. I love going into my client's Facebook group and saying, hey, have you monetized it yet? No, can I do that? Yeah, you've got 15,000 people in here. We can monetize. So there's so many things that you guys can do in order to build that strong community. The idea of building a strong community is to nurture them. It's the same idea as if you're planting a tree, planting a flower. How do you build a strong flower from a seed? You water it, you nurture it, you put it in the sun. Same idea with your community. It's essential. And you need to bridge that gap. So 2 bonuses. So don't focus on selling a product to a person. So if I'm going to sum it up even more, don't focus on selling a product to a person, to a number. We did, us and a couple of other companies, we came together, we did a survey. And what was it that was really profound? I'm trying to think exactly what we said. Basically, people were, when we were talking about what you didn't like about a company or an experience from coach consultant. People said, I don't like being treated like a number. Somebody else put a comment in there that I thought was hilarious is like, I'm not your avatar. I'm not an avatar. And an avatar, for you guys that aren't privy to it in marketing, it's an ideal client profile. So we can put up a picture of somebody and here's their demographics and their psychographics, pretty surface layer. And people were saying, I'm not your avatar. I'm not just this, I'm more. So they don't like it. They don't like being treated as a number. They don't like being treated as just an avatar. People want to be treated as humans. We are humans. So focus on creating a raving fan that loves your product rather than selling a product to a person, a singular person or people. Focus on creating a raving fan that loves your product and actually loves your products. So less about the sale, more about the raving fan. Because a raving fan will digest your product and then the next one and then the next one. Oh, and they're going to bring in all their friends. So they're going to bring in groupies. You need to focus on that. So find ways to keep the high touch feeling even with low touch products and automation. This is the thing that I'm really passionate about with influence builders, that we get to bridge that gap between human and technology. And we've got some work to do. We're moving so fast with our technology, with our systems, with our automations, that we're forgetting the human element. And it is very challenging to find what is that high touch? What is that high touch? Even though I have this membership with, I don't know, some of my clients have 5,000 people in their members, they still have that high touch, and it's about the feeling. It's about people coming together for a common interest. There's a way to create a high touch, even if it's a low touch product. And by low touch, I just mean that you as the individual, you're not with them individually all the time. So where one-on-one consultations, that's high touch, membership is a low touch. Doesn't mean that we have to let go of the high touch feeling of it. So there is a way to give people a high touch feeling, a feeling that you understand, a feeling that you care in your automation. This is something that we've been working on and we're doing in our funnels and in our email marketing copy. It's a different approach. This is why I make fun of bro marketing a lot. Trying not to be too bad about it, but I poke a little fun because I like having fun. Bro marketing can be very aggressive and not empathetic. And what people really need is that they need to understand that you get them. That's the human condition. We want to belong. We want to feel seen. We want to feel heard. We don't want to feel like a burden. So for the online space, bridging the gap between human and technology. So I'll leave you guys with that one. So just know, saying hello doesn't have an ROI. It's about building relationships. Even Gary Vee says it. Okay, I must be a fan. I've used him twice in this PowerPoint. All right, so what are the next steps? You're like, okay, Danielle, we sat through it. All right, give us what it is. What is it that you're selling? So it depends. It depends on where you're at. So I don't want to just give you guys, here's this program, here's that program. So I want you guys to decide what you need, and not all of this is going to be a program or product that you need to buy into. So at the beginning of if you're at the beginning of your growth, I'm so happy that you came on this. I'm so happy that you have your mind and your eyes on the prize of that 7 figures. That's awesome. So if you're at the beginning of growth, this means that you probably are still charging by the hour. If you're still trying to figure out who that ideal client is, you most likely are at the beginning of your growth phase. If you're not sure of your next steps, if you're not sure, you're in a great place. This is a learning phase too. This is a big learning phase. So with learning, you're digesting information. So what I would say for you guys is you want to be focusing on coming into our Facebook group. And yes, we have been absent in our Facebook group, but we just redeveloped everything that we're going to be doing with our Influence Builder Facebook group. Like I said, there's going to be content in there. It is going to be short content. So the other thing that I find with people at the beginning of their growth phase is that they're very excited to digest content. I don't want you guys spending an hour watching my content every single day because that leaves you no time to implement. So short content spurts, you guys can run with them if it feels aligned. If it's something like, I can do that, I'm going to go do it. So anything that is in the Facebook group is going to be designed for you guys to grab it and run with it if it's aligned. It's not going to be for everybody. So I just want to say that. Make sure that you're present with what it is that you need for information and what you need to add in. So I will do my due diligence of putting in information where I feel like the majority of the group is at and that they need. So if you're in the middle of the growth, what does that look like? You still may be figuring out your USP, your unique selling proposition. So the other thing that I find is that you also may be, you guys also may be discovering what your actual zone of genius is. You may not be there right yet. You may be in what they call your, what is that? There's another zone. It's not the zone of excellence. There it is. Zone of excellence. So you're really good at certain things. People come to you for these things and they like keeping you there with these things. That's a zone of excellence. Your zone of genius, also your zone of excellence, you tend to get tired if you spend too much time there. That's how you know. You're really good at it, but you get tired. So I know what mine is. I can't implement for too long. Well, too long means like 4 hours straight. So some people are like, that's a long time. Like, if you're implementing 8 hours a day normally, then yeah, okay, 4 hours doesn't seem like that much. That's your zone of excellence. Your zone of genius is what you could do and keep doing without losing energy. In fact, it does the opposite. It gives you more energy. That's how you know that you're doing what you're meant to do. So, I mean, heck, you could be at 7 figures and still trying to figure this out, right? So sometimes you're still figuring out your unique selling proposition for your programs, and who you are, what you're selling. Sometimes it's that you're trying to understand, are you in your zone of genius? Are you moving in the direction of your zone of genius? So that could be the middle growth phase. You may still be getting to know who your ideal clients are. You may still be testing and tweaking and trying different clients and seeing who works, who doesn't work. And if there's several different types, what parts of my business do they work for? You may be there. Most likely, you are still in the hustle and the grind. You're still trying to figure it out. I've seen people in the middle of their growth that have awesome boundaries. Whew, they are good. I mean, it's probably their zone of genius, just saying. Good boundaries, know how to balance. So they don't have the hustle and grind, but they still have some other things. Whether it's strategic hustle or not, whether it's just hustle. You know, some of us you just can't beat down. We're going to hustle no matter what, right? You also know you need systems and automations, but don't know where to start. So a lot of times in our middle growth phase, you're like, I need some systems, I need some automation. I can't keep doing this. So you recognize that. So congrats if you're here. This is where it gets really fun. This is where I love playing. This is where I come in and I love playing. So it is puzzle time for me. So when people are in the middle of their growth, I get excited. There's so much opportunity, and most of the time they don't even see it. They have all these things. They don't even see all the possibilities. And if they have a goal in mind, they don't even see how they're going to get there. I can come in and I can see it immediately. I know what's going on. So it's very exciting to be in that spot too. So if that's where you are, then there is an offer for you. There is an offer. This would be the Untouchables Academy. So we have built out a membership. So we focus on massive growth strategies. So we get to scale with our massive growth strategies. You also get 2 calls per month with me, with team members, with peers that we're bringing in. You guys get success plans. So alongside those 2 calls per month, you also get success plans. So what does that look like with the 2 calls a month? So what do people come to me for on these? They come to me and like, hey, I have this going on, Danielle. What do I do next? Hot seat coaching, problem solving on the fly. That's an area of genius for me. Specific to digital marketing and growth. I know that stuff. during those 2 calls, and we'll schedule them for an hour. I will tell everyone if you can stay on for an extra just in case. We're still growing this. Um, come to me with what is coming up for you when it comes to your growth. What do you feel is stopping you? Where are you stuck? How can we help? We're also going to bring in people to come in and talk about advertising. Facebook ads is a big problem right now for most people. It's a big problem. Getting clients is a big problem for people putting in automation. We've been working with several clients, and they've worked with other people first, other digital marketing agencies, and they have a ton of systems, none of which are working and none of which they're using successfully. So a lot of times we come and just like, all right, it's kind of like if we were going into like a closet. You know those closets? I don't know. We tend to have one. I don't have one here because I just moved. But it's your junk closet. What stays and what stays and what goes. Most of it's gonna go, but we're like mad. Nope, 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 nope. You don't need that. So that's something else that people come in for. You guys get free entry to our workshops. They're going to be anywhere from $27 to $297. Some may be more if we're doing like a 3-day event. So that's just the workshops. Events are different. You guys will get discounted prices on events. So this is where I get really excited because we have our team out there doing the work. So most up-to-date hacks and shortcuts in digital marketing. So what's a good example? LinkedIn is a great example. I don't know how many of you guys are on it, but LinkedIn, they cut it back to 100 connection requests per week when it was pretty much as many as you wanted and as many as you got accepted. So they pulled that back. We figured it out within weeks. Not even weeks. I think maybe 2 weeks. So, but my team and I were on it. We were on it and we were figuring out, and we found even more hacks. And guess what? It is better than what it was before. Way more excited about this. Way more excited about what we're doing with LinkedIn. What's another one? So TikTok. We're starting to develop TikTok. I have my team out there like, what are the best strategies? What's working for people? So we have a whole new breakdown of what's working on TikTok. We're going to start doing it. Our clients are going to start doing it. So we are actually on the ground when it comes to the changes in digital marketing, figuring out the how. So you guys are going to get it. This information is going to come to you first. We may do it during our calls. Most likely, we're going to do special trainings on if you use this or if you're having this issue, here is the shortcut. Only ones that are going to get it are in the membership. You're also going to get proprietary information on funnels, copywriting, and advertising. So everything that we're testing and tweaking and doing with our funnels, our copywriting, our advertising, you guys are going to know it. We're going to share it. The funnel piece is going to be really important for people. Our funnels and our clients' funnels convert extremely high. We're talking 2-3 times what is an industry standard. It's because of how we're putting them together, yes, but it's how we're writing them. It's the copy and the content that we're putting in them. Like I said, I'm not a fan of bro marketing. I like to know people and I like to reach them. And I do that in a way that helps them know that I see them. Interesting, right? Since we're in digital marketing, how can you see them? But they feel that way. So that's what our funnels and our content does in our funnels. So you guys get that information. Access to other experts who are behind the scenes of companies, major scaling activities. Yeah, I've got some really good experts that are the behind the scenes people. They're behind the scenes in some of these bigger companies. So that's the Untouchables Academy. It's called Untouchables because if you have this foundation, doesn't matter what happens. Nothing can touch you. You're in good shape. So until the 23rd, which is my birthday, $197 a month. So that's what it is. It's a great deal. You guys want to grab it before we put it up to $597 per month. This is one of our slower academies memberships. We don't plan on building this fast. We want to bring in the right people. So it is going to go up. $197 until the 23rd though. That's your link. I'll put it in the comments here at the end. I think we're getting past it. We're almost right there. So, and then some of you guys are like, yeah, hey Danielle, I'm past that. Um, but you feel like you're like just entering or in the scaling mode. So you guys heard me talk about I work our agency works with a lot of people who are in seven figures, multiple seven figures. So what does that look like? Revenue is coming in consistently and increasing. You have a team, you know your gaps and are working on filling them. You just may not know who to fill them with. You're still looking to automate and systematize, and you're still working too hard, right? You're still working too hard. Everything looks good, everything's promising, but it's not quite strong foundation, right? And you know that you need it before you're in that scale phase. So you're almost there. You're almost there. You just need something. So a lot of times people will say, I need you, Danielle, is what I need to come in. And then we infuse their company with the systems, automations, even the content that they need to really scale. It's usually simple things. It's some work. We come in as fractional CMOs and agency owners. Um, you could need this. You could need a VIP session. It may be something that you just need a half day or a full day just to get things done. Like, how do I plan this? I really need help with my online marketing. You just someone to come in, help create a marketing plan, a launch plan. You guys, you can even create an advertising plan with either me or one of my team members. I've got an awesome team member specific to Facebook. We work also on LinkedIn ads. So maybe you just want to expand to other social media platforms, but you need a plan in place. This is what we can do on those half day, full day VIPs. You guys may be thinking, I need an expert agency. Yeah, they're tough to find. They're tough to find. I usually follow the ones that aren't expert agencies. And it's something. It's something. But you need a team of experts in lead generation, social media growth, advertising, and don't have the time or want to train your own people. Maybe you don't know how to. A lot of people don't know how to train their people. They know they need these things. They don't know how to train their people. Do we come in and train? Yeah, we do. In fact, if I come in, I train. I'm like, it doesn't matter. We're coming in, we're training your people. Um, we'll stay, we're your agency, but yeah, we have to train your people as well. We'll take them under our wing as well. So if that's the case, you guys want to set up a call. It's a bit.ly. Like I said, I'll put all these in the comments in just a second. But that's what we're up to, guys. So